it is very ironical that Africa as a continent is a rich continent, and it's actually a continent that all the other parts of the world envy and wish to be. But our way of organization, Honorable Speaker, sometimes really confuses even ourselves, because we really do not know how to organize ourselves and plan our own continent. And that is why, you know, some people take advantage of us as a people. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the report of the Pan-African Parliament, it's really a good report that from the onset I support, Honorable Speaker. But it's sad that everything that is proposed by the parliamentary, the Pan-African Parliamentary group is, or parliament, is, or for lack of a better word, can only be termed as hot air. It is sad that it can only recommend. It is a body that is well constituted, paid by taxpayers, you know, of different state members, but whatever they propose remains as such a mere proposal and cannot be effected. And it's very sad sometimes when you see even our neighbors across the continent, across, our very immediate neighbors fighting, but there is nothing the Pan-African Parliament can do other than making proposals. When we look at the history of the Pan-African Parliament, Honorable Speaker, they first had their meeting in 2005 in South Africa. And over the years, they've been meeting, because they meet about 2 times or 3 times a year. They've been holding meetings over the years from 2005, all through. We are now in 2023. You can imagine, we are talking about over 15 years of people meeting. Ideally, practically 18 years of people holding meetings and making recommendations of what ought to be done, but it's not effected. It is not effected because those are mere proposals. Honorable Speaker, the committee's report is very good and very juicy to read, and we really support it entirely. But if there is need to go through the constitutive act of the African Union that proposed that the election of the PAP members be done through universal suffrage, and that it also proposed that at that point that the respective countries be barred from having the sitting members, you know, of the national legislatures be part of this PAP. If it will require that we go through that proposal, that it's universal suffrage, then so be it, so that we can be able to have at least a legislative body that can be able to bite, making recommendations about the DRC, making recommendation about the peace, you know, in that area, in the DRC, but then really not being effected is really immaterial. Making proposals about, in fact, the only thing that at times this legislative body focuses on is the rotational leadership, which is something that this committee, of course, proposed, that they do rotational leadership, the matrix in terms of how they can be able to rotate. They set up the alphabetical structure or otherwise, that how do we choose the rotational structure? Maybe today Kenya, then tomorrow Uganda. Then when you look at the proposal in terms of rotational leadership, you realize Kenya, Honorable Speaker, falls under K. So if you go through rotational leadership and you go in alphabetical order, maybe Kenya will achieve the leadership you know, position or under that angle of rotational after 200 years, when you and I, Honorable Speaker, will not be there. It is actually very sad. Such proposal should actually not be admitted, because I think we should maybe go through competing economies. Which country holds the better economy, so that people work for it, that those that control the economy, those that are able to go, you know, to within the level that can be equated, you know, or rather can be can amount to quality economy, then get that opportunity to lead. But talking about alphabetical order and such like that will really mess. And there are other countries, of course, that have also served previously in such leadership. they should also not get such opportunities to lead the other state members. Honorable Speaker, there is also the issue of the concern. It is sad that PAP only gets concerned of the leadership, of the challenge in DRC. But what happens after the concern? They make proposal that there is need to have peace in DRC. But they again cannot bite. That concern just ends within that house. It ends within the meetings. And it's really, really sad that people are dying. Innocent children are dying and mothers and fathers in DRC. But there is nothing that the member states can do. And other than calling, of course, for immediate end of conflict, which, of course, it's good that it was tabled then. Honorable Speaker, there is also the issue of the women empowerment and inclusion of governance. Again, it is a proposal. Some of the member states that proposed are known, to suffocate women in leadership. But they proposed such recommendations in the Pan-African Parliament. Really, it is quite ironical. A country, because I really need to respect our neighborhood, but there are countries that are known to suffocate women in leadership. They also proposed the matters to do with the women's rights, which again, in my opinion, cannot really be practical when they are proposed by quotas that are known not to respect women in leadership. But all said and done, there is need for African countries, Honorable Speaker, to review their treaties and their engagements. We are a continent that is too small, but very rich. We are a continent that if we really decide to join hands, Honorable Speaker, if we decide to, create common grounds in terms of our engagements, we can form a very enviable continent. It is sad, in the United States of America, Honorable Speaker, it's really a country. But moving from here, let's say, when one takes a flight from, let's say, Texas to Seattle, Washington, it takes a person about 8 hours flight to get to that place. But it's still regarded as a single country. And people are able to engage from those member states. They've been able to turn such a huge and populous country into one very small global village. There is need for African countries to review that and stop this fear, unnecessary fear, amongst the member states, the fear of unknown, people trying to fight to remain in leadership all through in their life, because the member states have also leaders that do not want to change. They do not want to have review of their own laws. Somebody wants to be in power forever. Somebody wants to remain in power they believe that they enjoy the monopoly of leadership. And that is why they don't believe that somebody can be able to take over the leadership. So it is actually sad at times as Africans that we really cannot reason together and even come up with a common currency. Those are the things that this Pan-African Parliament should be thinking of. And if it needs us to suffrage the membership, as far as the nominees are concerned, maybe not even be able to sit in the National Assembly, so that they can have quality time to legislate and come up with laws that can be able to put this continent together, then so be it. But unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, we do not want to agree that as a continent, we are too few and we can come together. The member states can come together, form a common ground, so that we actually become a continent that can be able to reason together. It is sad that a student leaves Uganda. A student leaves Uganda and comes to Kenya, leaves Uganda and comes to Kenya and pays pays school fees as an international student. It is very sad. Yet, Uganda is just here. But a student leaves Texas and goes to Seattle, Washington, 8 hours apart, and is able to study there comfortably. So, Honorable Speaker, with those very many remarks, I support the report. Thank you.
Honorable Osoro, were you rushing against time or you're done?
I was actually...
Because of status, I could add you a few minutes.
Please add me 3 minutes.
Add Honorable Osoro 3 minutes.
Please, thank you very much.
And it will be followed by Honorable Irene Mayaka and the others who have requested to speak in that order. Proceed.
Yeah, like Honorable Mdhoni. She's really been waiting. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for adding me that time. So I was saying, it is sad that a student on a 2-hour flight from, on a actually 1.5 hours flight from Uganda, you know, takes a flight from Uganda, Kampala, and comes to Kenya or Rwanda. And when he gets to Kenya, he pays school fees at Kenyatta University or Nairobi University or the University of Nairobi as a student from United States would pay, as a student from the other places like Asia would pay. They are regarded as international students. You know, a person with the same skin color as we do have, a person that is about 1.5 hours distance. It is very sad. It is not something that we should be talking about at this time and era. And that is what I'm saying, Honorable Speaker, that from 2005, since the Pan-African Parliament had the inaugural Legislative Assembly, by now they would have made inroads. They would have made recommendations that are workable. And I think it's important for the member states to support the Pan-African Parliament, to empower them to come up with possible treaties that can make the recommendations of the Pan-African Parliament binding and legislative in nature. Because as they are merely recommendations. And even if they make recommendations for the students, it would really help, because as it is right now, Honorable Speaker, it is the entire body is a toothless dog per se. It is a body that just meets to share ideas and propose and then go home and possibly network. That is not how Africans should be thinking as we speak. Because we've come of age, we are a rich continent, we are a continent that can reason together. It pains me that we all leave Africa to go and do research. You know, our students leave Africa to do research in the United States, to do research in Asia, to do research in far countries and continents. Why can't we get to a level where students from the United States of America, students from Asia, come to the University of Nairobi and do research, so that we can also become a research center? Because we do not want to reason together, and that is why we are here, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, I conclude by saying that Pan-African Parliament should be empowered. Pan-African Parliament should think outside the box, or even throw the box away and start thinking. There should be treaties that make recommendations by the Pan-African Parliament more binding, other than mere recommendations and suggestions. With those very many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the additional time, and I beg to support the report.